I don't dance. I headbang.
So I have the great happiness, I'd say, aside from honor, of having with me Chaney Crabb of ENTHEOS. Chaney, welcome in Metalradio.gr. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It means a lot.
ENTHEOS is a band that uh, came through around 2015.
Mhm.
It's almost a decade now. Can
Whoa.
you tell me? Yeah, next year it's gonna be a decade.
I know.
How has the journey been so far?
Oh my gosh, it's been an amazing, fascinating journey full of twists and turns and surprises that I never could have anticipated from the beginning of this band. We started the band as four friends who thought that we would just make an EP and never play a show and never, really just put it out and maybe do something cool for fun that 15 people would show up to. But so to see it like take off into this thing that has like fully become a huge part of my life and that has allowed me to travel the world and that has allowed Naveen and I to make music together for so long. It's just like really surreal, really surreal.
It's really surreal for us listening to you. Um, I'm gonna start by that, but because being a woman, I know that the metal scene is kind of men-dominated
Oh, yeah.
place. This is starting to change gradually, but I have never heard a female voice like yours. I get
Thank you so
goosebumps. I
much.
get
Oh my
goosebumps
God.
by saying it. I mean, there's growling, there's gobbling, there's clean vocals. I mean, how did you start? I mean, your studies and so and your influences, and how do you keep up? Do you train or something? Because it
Yes,
takes a huge amount of lungs.
that is true. So I started out as a singer when I was very young. Like I can't disconnect myself in my life from being a singer because I always have been.
Hmm.
I sang in like choir, swing choir, and I was in a musical when I was in middle school. And it was around the same time in middle school when I was really, really developing that love for singing that I started going to metal shows. You know, I was becoming friends with the artsy kids, and the artsy kids, they liked metal. So they would burn me CDs. And I started going to local shows. And I grew up in Des Moines, Iowa, which is, we're famous for Slipknot has put us on the map, basically. And, around the time that I was a kid was when Slipknot and when I started going to shows was right after Slipknot had really taken off. So there was a lot of hope and a lot of inspiration going around the Des Moines music scene specifically that we can do this. And there were a lot of amazing bands coming out of the area in that time. So I was lucky enough to be able to go to a local show like every weekend in between middle school. So my love for it developed there in at local shows. And because I was just really attracted to this vocal style and I loved the aggression and the emotion behind metal vocals specifically. So I just started, going from there. When I was like 12 years old, I started learning how to do vocals. And my goal has always been to get better and to add new things to my palette. Like I don't ever view my growth as a vocalist as being done, especially now. It's like, every other day there's a 15-year-old kid coming out with a YouTube tutorial on how to do some crazy like, gargling throat tunnel vocal or something. And
Okay.
yeah, and I think it's cool to like constantly keep up with that stuff. Like I always want to learn the new stuff that's coming out. And so I think that's what's helped me grow as a vocalist over all of the years of my life is just being super hungry for more. And it all started at like the House of Bricks in Des Moines, Iowa when I was 12 years old.
That sounds great. Nowadays, how do you keep up? Do you do your training, so to
Hmm.
speak?
So I practice for uh, a couple of hours every single day. So I've never formally trained with anyone. It's all self-taught. But, like I said, there are a million YouTube tutorials out there now that you almost feel like you're training with someone all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I'm constantly practicing our songs. I'm constantly practicing other people's songs. I want to expand my range and I want to sound good live. I don't want people to see videos of me on the internet and I'm doing something well and then they come and see me in real life and I'm not doing it. Like I want that to be what you see in real life. So I work really hard at developing those skills and keeping like just keeping like the thing being like a well-oiled machine, if you will. And I never feel perfect. I never feel like I've gotten there. And I think that's probably like a secret to why I do it all the time. But yeah, it's a never-ending process for me.
However, I am positive that there are kids, or not only kids out there, trying to do what you do with your videos. I'm almost certain about that.
Thank you. If there are, that is the craziest thing ever.
So let's go to an end to everything. It's the EP coming out on October 25th on Metal Blade Records. Tell me a few things about it. We've seen the videos, we've loved them. We are positive that we're going to love the EP. Me personally, as I've pre-listened to it to prepare for the interview, I already love it.
Oh,
Tell me a
thank you.
few things about the process,
Mhm.
the creativity, and I read in the description of 1,000 Days that you say that you merged death metal, groove, grunge, electronica, slam, gothic rock, jazz, and prog.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Oh, thank
That's the
you.
craziest thing about it because you can put many things in the mix, but you don't
Hmm.
know if they're going to work. In your case, they did. And
Oh,
that's brilliant.
well,
So,
thank you so much. Because that is something that we work really hard toward. Like we have all of these eclectic influences and we want to bring them into the band, but the tricky part is making those all fit together seamlessly and not saying that you're a country say you label yourself as a country metal band. Well, if I listen to that band, I want to hear those two things fused together. I don't
mm-hmm,
want to hear metal sections and then all of a sudden a country section pops up. So
mm-hmm.
that can be the trickiest part is understanding and trying to fuse all of those things together. And I'm proud of the way that we are starting to do it because I feel like Naveen and I are starting to really get a grip on being songwriters. And that was a huge goal with this EP. Time Will Take Us All, our last album, was a concept record that ran front to back all together. It flows together. There are some singles on it. There are some clear singles, but with writing the EP, we wanted to make 5 distinct singles that we could release with visual accompaniments. So that's the idea that we went to our label with. And they were like, cool, let's do that. Let's make it into an EP. It's a collection of music. And
Mm-hmm.
so we went to our producer, Mark Lewis, with that idea. And it was really an exercise in trying to write good, cohesive songs, working completely with Mark Lewis for the first time because he was there from the ground up rather than just mixing and mastering.
Mm-hmm.
And he lives 3 blocks away from us. So it's very easy for us to just roll out of bed and go over there. But
It makes things
unfortunately,
easier.
it makes things easier, but it also means that rather than having like a 3-week period of studio time, because we're so close with Mark, we were tracking for like 3 months, I would say. And so yeah, the idea was to go over, do this with him, see if it would be comfortable for us to then proceed and do a full album with him.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went into it with that idea, and from a lyrical perspective, I lost a friend to he wasn't an addict. He was an enabler of an addict. And it's a really sad, dark story of what happened and what I literally perceived, and I saw this happen in front of my own eyes, and I and myself tried to get this person, or I and others tried to get this person out of his life for a long time, and unfortunately it led to his demise. And uh, I was dealing with that while I was writing this album or this EP. So what you are hearing in my voice and seeing lyrically is a person going through complete, like, trying to deal with a really fucked up situation that happened. And it was kind of it served as my catharsis for that situation.
The funny thing is that even though it's a very specific incident in your life,
Mhm.
many people listening to it can relate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I think that
that's what true music is about. I think that's the quality, the true quality in music is that people can relate even though they don't know each other or they don't have the common references. And I think that's that's part of the success, if you know what I mean, the success in brackets or so.
yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And those are my favorite lyrics. My favorite lyricists are people who they might be writing about the most specific thing in their life, but it's put in terms that I can bring into my life. And whether or not they could be talking about, losing their grandmother to dementia, but to me, the song is about like the birth of a baby or something. You can interpret lyrics in many different ways, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about being a lyricist. I always love hearing other people's interpretations of my lyrics because it could mean something completely different to them. And I agree with you. It's a universal language. And that's why poetry and lyrics resonate so much with me, because it's it's like putting all of these human experiences into beautiful, concise words and beautiful, concise sayings or lines. And those are things that stick with me. And yeah, I totally agree with you.
It's also the way interpret the words, because many people can say some specific words. Words are common for everyone.
Mhm.
Sometimes the sentiment you put into it strikes the right vein.
Absolutely.
Tell me about your influences, both musically
Hmm.
and lyric wise. Lyric wise, I think that you probably resonate to yourself, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Or
have,
is
go ahead.
no. Or I was just trying to articulate better the question in order to help you.
Oh, I think so. I have like millions of influences. I'm obsessed with art and music and just the world. Like my seeing something happen that's influential to me. You never like those things just bleed into your system a bit,
Mm-hmm.
I think. But lyricists who I always look to when I'm writing, Jacob Bannon of Converge, Karen O of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, Joni Mitchell, one of the most amazing lyricists of all time, Marissa Nadler, Emma Ruth Rundle, Anthony Green from Circus Survive. Did I already say him? I can't even. God, there are a million. I'll go and read through so many different lyrics when I'm writing just to like I just love wordplay. I like
Mm-hmm.
read. I'm still that angsty teenage girl who goes back and reads every Sylvia Plath poem before I write lyrics, I love observing wordplay, and sometimes it'll be like me reading an Alan Watts book or listening to like a lecture, something that strikes a chord lyrically for me. Vocally, I also have all of those people are also vocal inspirations for me. But getting into metal, like my first initial influence was Randy Blythe, just because my first initial influence of the type of vocal that I do now was Randy Blythe, because his lyrics, first of all, he had a very dynamic range, but he was also clear and concise in the words. Like you can understand Randy Blythe's like words as he's saying them. And I find Phil Bozeman from Whitechapel is fantastic at doing that. I enjoy being able to understand lyrics. And so I'm always drawn to vocalists like that. A lot of hardcore bands, I love Scott Vogel from Terror, Corpse Grinder. It's like, I honestly, they're infinite influences on me. Chelsea Wolfe, God, they're just so many. I can't name them all, but what I will say is that I am completely obsessed with music, and everything I listen to, I take a bit of influence from.
I see.
Mhm.
Well, that's next question has to do with wishful thinking. Are you coming to Europe?
Yeah, we
Are
are
you doing
absolutely.
summer festivals?
We're not doing summer festivals. I every year hope for that. Hopefully in 2026 we end up doing that. We have been looking at European uh tours for next year. So we will absolutely be back next year.
Okay, so fingers crossed on that.
Yes, yes.
Are you already working on a full-length album?
We are. We are literally entering the studio at the beginning of December to record a full-length album. So we're writing right now. We have about 4 songs written, but we're going deep into writing mode starting next week. And our goal is that maybe we'll write like 30 or 40 songs and go through those to see which ones resonate with us the most and are, just the best songs. And we got that inspiration from like country singers and pop singers who a lot of the time write, like, that's what they spend their days doing. They'll write like sometimes 5 songs in a day, and then they kind of sift through those and they figure out what the strongest material is because and it just seems like a really fun thing to do. That's why we're experimenting with doing that, because we've done the concept album where we just wrote it perfectly from front to back, and that was it. We've done the 5 singles where we wrote 5 singles, and that was it. So we want to experiment with this method of songwriting and see where it takes us.
Can you take us through the process of writing?
Yeah. So our process of writing, Naveen is, he's a multi-instrumentalist. He records all the guitars, all the drums on our records, and he's a very prolific songwriter. He never stops writing. He actually writes so much that he works with a cymbal company, Meinl, and he'll write songs for them for drummers to just go in and play over. And he writes super technical songs for another project that he has. And he writes so much. That's his gift. So he'll write riffs. Sometimes it'll be one riff, sometimes it'll be an entire song. And I kind of, we live together, so I can go in and out of the studio and have my input on songs. So we really work together to see, does this part work perfectly with the next part that comes after it? Does the next part make no sense? Do we need to add something here? Do we need to double this chorus? Or so we can work really closely doing that. And I always have input with him, although I'm not writing the music along with him. We're close enough that if I say, Naveen, I think we need a part there that goes like din 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 din, then he can write it. It's perfect. Yeah. So we start there. I'm simultaneously writing lyrics, writing some vocal patterns to see like what will go, where we should change things. I demo out all of the vocals, whether it's just me doing like mouthing patterns or having lyrics, because some lyrics come immediately. Like I'll listen to the song one time through and I'm like, that's the lyric for that part. So we'll do that. And then we work with Mark Lewis, who produced the EP, and Mark will then further fine comb over parts, and we'll see, we'll take out parts that don't fit. And then we go in and track, and we track drums, guitar, vocals. Evan Brewer comes in and does the bass, and it all just kind of like works like that. And we're essentially like writing something and then fine combing through it until we have a song that we really love.
Having uploaded all these one take videos of your songs, aside of how do you breathe? What's the weirdest comment you can remember
Oh my
having
God.
had about it?
Well, first of all, I don't know how I breathe, and I get really mad at myself sometimes because I am like, I didn't think of how I'm going to be able to breathe during this part when we were in the studio. So it's hard, and it's like a skill you have to work on a lot, and people overlook the breathing aspect of doing vocals. But this what the second part of the question, the weirdest comment. I think every day I wake up and there are like 500 weird comments on my videos, but the ones that I like to make fun of the most are when people think that I'm channeling demons or something, I love because you can add comments to your stories now on Instagram, and I love like making fun of those a little bit. And that's always the funniest thing to me because I think that through those videos, a lot of people have been exposed to our music who aren't metalheads at all. And they immediately, I'm so detached from not being a metalhead that I forget that people think it seems satanic to do. Although Satanism, very cool religion. If you look into it, it's got a lot of there's a lot of cool shit there. But that's what I'm always most fascinated by because I've listened to metal for so long that I can't put myself in a headspace of someone who doesn't view like a band like Cannibal Corpse as being sort of mainstream. You know what I mean? It's like to me, if I listen to Cannibal Corpse, I'm like, this is really palatable, like mainstream music. And if someone else hears it, they're like, oh my God, this is Satan and everything evil in the world. And it's like, I can't, it's so funny to me.
I think the weirdest part about people not having listened to metal before is that you're a girl and you can do these vocals. Because a friend of mine once told me when I showed him a woman doing growls, what happened? Did she eat jalapeno or something?
Yeah, that too. That too. Because like you said, it's like this is a male dominated industry and it was way more dominated by males when I started playing. Like there was not a girl in my local scene until I had played music for maybe 5 or 6 years. I was the girl who did metal vocals in Des Moines. And so yeah, it's still weird and it's really weird for outsiders and I don't think that they can even grasp in any way how I can get my voice that low, And so that's always fascinating, but I try to remind them or just educate them. It's a technique much like singing and it's only dependent on technique and practice, really.
And I'm not channeling Satan.
Yeah, and it's not Satan. That would be kind of cool if I haven't sold my soul yet.
If you can go back to yourself doing that first audition video, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh my gosh. Maybe like stop negative talking yourself because at that point in my life, I thought that my metal career was over and it's insane for me to look back on that now because I wasn't in bands for like 3 years. I moved from Des Moines to LA and I wasn't in bands and I thought I was too old to succeed playing music. And now looking back, I want to just slap myself and be like, what are you talking about? You're a young child. But I just think that like we can oftentimes in life, not just with music, just with everything, you can have this idea to do something and it'll be followed with but I can't do that because of this or but this and I just wish I could tell myself to not ever do that. Now I'm a totally different person as far as that goes. Now I don't let that shit get to me at all. And if I hear my friends doing that kind of negative speak, I confront them and I'm like, why are we stopping ourselves before we get started? That shouldn't be a part of being a person. Being a person should be about like that child wonder that we used to have. And I think the older that we get, the more that the real world gets in our way and has an effect on us. I can't be an artist because I have to have this full-time job and provide for my family. And it's like, well, you can be an artist in the 5 hours you have outside of your job, or you can be an artist, just doodle on a piece of paper or write lyrics on a piece of paper at work. So that kind of negative speak is something that I wish I could have eradicated from my life a little earlier.
That's really nice. It's kind of a cool advice too. Thank you very much for being with us. I I am I can say I'm a huge fan of ENTHEOS.
Thank you so much.
I love you guys, and I hope I can get to see you live as soon as possible. I can't wait for new stuff from you guys. I wish you all the success.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. And, as like I said, like from my heart, I'm still that kid who I'm writing music because I love it. And like, I can't believe that even one other person likes the music that we're putting out. That's so surreal to me. So thank you so, so much for listening, for being able to resonate. Like there's nothing I could ask for more in this world. And it means a lot to me.
Means a lot to us too.